again. Here we are to continue our exciting exploration of CSS. In the previous video, we talked about float and we did a drop cap. Let's move on to flex now. Okay, so flex is like probably the most important property we're going to talk about today. The box model is super important, but flex you're going to get a lot of mileage out of, and it's going to work with the box model. You really have to know both. Flex much more important than float. Okay, you can use this to lay out anything. Let me put it in a nutshell, right? So flex is a one-dimensional layout. Imagine you have a bunch of elements like boxes, divs, H3s, H1s, paragraphs, whatever, anything, anchor tags, whatever. When you assign flex to the parent element, imagine all of the child elements are on a string, and you can slide them along that string and arrange them in a row. So in a one-dimensional layout. So it can be in a horizontal row or a vertical row, okay? Right? Let's take a look, right? So in the folder here for class, if I go to the lessons folder, there is a lesson in here or an HTML file called Flexbox Html. So you can download this and open it in your browser, okay? And I have it open over here. And this is just like a little playground where you can test out the idea of flex. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a box by clicking the button at the bottom. And it kind of creates these boxes and just gives them a random color, right? And puts the number in them, right? So let's say we got like 3 boxes here, okay? So imagine like inside this parent element, which is this box with the black border, I have 3 divs, okay? And they have a little bit of padding just so they have some space around their number, right? Okay. And if we set the display property to display flex, watch what happens. Okay, so right now this is what the default behavior would be. All the blocks would stack up vertically, right? You know, that's the regular box model, and they would expand to fill the width of their container, right? As soon as I set this to flex, they align like this, right? So what's happening here is flex is stretching them vertically and then aligning them, like stacking them up horizontally, right? And that's because the default behavior for flex is to align things in a row. So imagine there's an invisible line that runs through the middle of all 4 of these elements and stretches across their container. Okay, so the box right here on the outside, it has a class name of demo. So we set the flex behavior on the parent element and all of the children get arranged. So imagine in demo, there's a string that runs all the way across here. And these things can slide along that string. So if I use the justify content property, let me actually zoom in on this a little bit. Maybe that'll be easier to see, right? If I set this to flex start, everybody's on the left side of the string. If I change it to flex end, everybody slides to the right side of the string, right? So I just slid them along that axis, right? The horizontal axis, right? If I change this to center, it's just like I've slid the whole group to the middle, okay? If I choose space around, the computer's going to calculate the leftover space and put an equal amount on each side of the boxes. So really here, the amount that I have on the end is twice that amount between, because there's this amount of space on the left side of the red box and the right side of the orange box. Okay? If I choose space between, then the elements go all the way to the edge and all the leftover space is put in between the elements, okay? And then you can choose space evenly. And when we choose space evenly, the space on the outside is equal to the space in the interior, okay? So, so there we go, flex, display block, looks like this. Display flex, it's gonna look like this. Justify content's gonna determine how things are arranged inside along the axis, okay? But flex also works on the vertical axis. So you can choose flex direction, and right now it's set to row. That's the default. So if you don't set flex direction, right, it's going to be row. If I choose column though, now you can see everybody's spaced vertically, and right now I have the setting to space around, so there's an equal space on the left and right side of each element, right? If I choose center, now they're all in the middle vertically, right? Okay, so there we go. Let's see what else we got here. Right. So the other thing is, actually, let me do one more thing. Let's go back to the beginning here. I'm going to go, or actually back to row. Okay. So if you recall, we did. Let me actually do. Let me do the default here, right? So this is our default behavior. So justify content determines how things are aligned on the main axis. Main axis is what you have set for flex direction. So right now on the row direction, justify content is setting the arrangement, okay? On the cross axis, right, we can use the align items property to determine how the items display on the cross axis. So there's a few properties here. The default value is stretch, okay? If I choose flex start, then everybody starts from the top, right? They're still being arranged on a row, but they're going to be forced up to the top of the row. They no longer stretch. If I choose flex end, then they go to the bottom, right? If you choose center, then they'll be in the middle, right? So that's kind of good. That this allows me to arrange things in the center vertically and horizontally, right? So flex actually is the easiest way to put something in the middle of the page. Okay, long story short there. You can do baseline. This actually, the baseline aligns it on the text. In this case, we won't see any difference, right? Or we can choose stretch, okay? So let's review that in a nutshell. Flex, we apply it to the parent, and all the children, not all descendants, but all the children are arranged, right, with the flex rules, okay? Justify content applies to the main axis, which can either be row or column, okay? And align items aligns the elements on the cross axis. So if the main axis is row, align items applies across the row. If main axis was column, then align items applies across the column, right? So if I choose this center, now they're centered on the cross axis, or flex end or flex start moves them to the left or right because we're set to column. Okay, so anyway, so that hopefully gets you started on Flexbox. The best way to learn Flexbox though is to experiment and practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to I'm going to find the Flex section here, and this is a homework assignment for you. You're going to put all the answers in Gradescope for me, and I got another game for you, right? So this is a website called Flexbox Froggy, and it's basically like the CSS diner, but for Flexbox. So the idea here is, actually, let me go back to the very beginning here. I'm going to go to the first one right here. Actually, it's saving my answers. I'm going to delete that, right? So you have the frog, and you want to put the frog on the lily pad, right? So we're display flex right now, but what I need to do is I need to set justify content, because the default axis is row, right? So I want to move this guy all the way to the end of the row. So they're actually kind of giving me the answer here, right? So I'll say justify content, and if I put center, then the frog would go to the middle of the page. If I said flex start, then the frog is going to be on the left side. If I choose flex end, then the frog is going to go to the right side of the page, right? And that would be the answer for this first question, right? So there's 24 of these. Go through all of these and then paste the answer into the question on Gradescope for each of these, right? So complete that, and then this will give you a pretty good practice on Flexbox, right? And then also, we're going to apply Flexbox to the Zen Garden page too, so you can use it to lay things out like this, or arrange, the buttons here, or arrange these two paragraphs side by side, right? So anyway, so thanks for watching, and I hope that that's helpful and gives you some practice on your CSS, right? Or give you something to practice, right? And thanks for watching.